Okay, folks, this is going to be a serious video. We're going to be dealing with a very sensitive topic today. And before we begin, I want to say that I'm not a mental health professional. I don't claim to be one. I've explored the topic of mental health maybe a lot more than the average lay person of certain subjects, but I'm not a professional. So if you're a mental health professional and you find this, make sure you offer some kind of correction or supplementation to whatever it is I'm about to produce. Okay, so this is going to be on preventing self-deletion attempts. So in the first place, you need to have certain skills and competencies before you help someone avoid deleting themselves when they're in the midst of a crisis. And one of those competencies is attention span training. You might make a claim that, oh, well, I have ADHD, so when a crisis arises, I'll naturally meet it with hyperfocus or something. But no, you have to be on your P's and Q's and be sober and focused and goal-directed with respect to the protection of your attention span. Because, to invoke one quote, we don't rise to the level of our hopes, we fall to the level of our training. Your ability to sit with someone and help them unravel exactly what they're going through and help them maybe adopt a new conception of themselves in the midst of their suffering is going to rely on the strength of your ability to focus. So you cannot just leave this sort of thing to chance. You have to be really intentional about how you design your lifestyle so that you protect your capacity to kind of drink in someone's suffering and relieve it in the very same instance in which you're talking to them. Now let's move on to the emotional base note. If you are a Christian, then what I want you to do, regardless of how this person looks, is adopt the heart and intentions of Jesus, okay? Imagine how Jesus would feel toward a child, just a random child. Imagine how he would treat that child, okay? When you're dealing with someone who's emotionally raw and they're engaging in looping self-criticisms and they feel like they're a failure or that they've failed people they love or something, you want to treat them the way that a loving mother treats her child. You don't want to impose standards or judgments or religious moralizing because they're in a very sensitive position. You want to just be open to whatever it is they're dealing with. You want to be an open, receptive field of non-judgmental awareness, loving non-judgmental awareness. Okay, also, insofar as you can control your spending habits before you end up in the scenario where you're talking someone out of self-deletion, keep like a rescue budget in your, could be a debit card or something, like an independent account. So be prepared to buy a favorite snack, a favorite beverage, a favorite meal, maybe certain supplements, maybe certain over-the-counter medications if it's safe. For this person who is in a crisis, and be prepared to do this more than once for them if you need to. One of the virtues involved in saving some money, even if you're like me and you like impulse buying things that you don't need, is that this sort of thing can help produce a localized emotional culture in which someone feels like you're really on their side and you're not just approaching them with like some kind of selfishly opportunistic religious proselytizing intentions when they're simply seeking a helping hand or they're drowning and they're seeking, a lifeline. So here's where things are going to get controversial, but I would say never start out immediately with the invocation to seek professional help. Of course, you should have the option of seeking professional help or helping administer professional help if you can in your mind at all times. But if someone is just beginning to tell you about what they're going through, You don't shut them down and say, go to a therapist. That is extremely abrasive. That is extremely inconsiderate. If someone is raw and they're wounded, they could be suffering all the time. They could be suffering for 6 months or for 6 years or for 6 decades. You never really know what people are going through. Then you need to be able to sit with their pain before you invoke the professional help option. I could say a lot more. I probably will later on, but in the meantime, I just want to say, you don't start out with just like, fuck off and go to a therapist or something like that. That's how your words are going to read to someone who just needs someone to offer kind of system to deep thought and deep feeling to them when they are in a crisis, okay? If someone has tears coming down their face, then obviously it would be clear that you shouldn't just shut them down with like a go help yourself suggestion. But if someone is, I don't know, there are various ways in which you can read that someone is vulnerable, and sometimes you gotta just like take a few L's, maybe lose a few hours of sleep, and be of service to someone who is in a damn crisis, okay? Like, I don't know, a lot of people need to hear something like that, and worded a lot more sternly than I'm willing to put that right now. You want to offer several lines of contact if you can't be physically present with this person. So suppose you live in different locations and you happen to run into them at like a rec center or something. You want to give them like email, the option to text, maybe WhatsApp info, social media accounts or something like that. So you want to make real sacrifices to keep in touch with them if they start to talk to you as well. If that means missing out on some friendships and stuff like that for a while, then you put those on hold. Saving a life is more important than feeling pleasure in randomly occurring social gatherings. Also, this is definitely unconventional, but it worked for me every time so far. So, no matter how low someone's IQ is, no matter how sinful their past is, no matter how addicted they are to various sorts of things, which may or may not be ignoble, teach them to view themselves as capable of heroism, and maybe even eventually something like moral sainthood, or a version of it that suits them. You would be surprised how healing it is to be seen as something that is capable of divinely beautiful achievements when you're at your lowest. I remember when I was in high school, there was actually this wonderful counselor who lived according to her stated principles, and she really did love people and want to love on people, to use her words. So she repeatedly got me to view myself as capable of different kinds of beneficial achievements. You know, just like I would love to report to her on what I've achieved by my current age, despite my problems with health issues and, you know, financial issues. I'm probably going to get back in touch with her at some point. So if they are caught up in different kinds of addictions, then recognize that you're not going to get them off those addictions right away. And if it's not like a 911 emergency situation, then try to, I don't know, take a few minutes to go to the bathroom and look into like harm reduction principles and do what you can to meet this person where they're at. You know, if they're used to a certain number of drinks every night and you're concerned that they're going to get cirrhosis of the liver within a year or something, I don't really have medical knowledge in this area, but you want to try to teach them to wean off the amount of alcohol they're used to, So harm reduction is an important part of treating people with necessary empathy and compassion. I don't know what else to say. If you feel this enormous weight on your shoulders and in your heart in the hours and days and weeks and months that elapse after you've helped someone not end themselves, maybe they're into a new hobby now, like playing video games, then understand that you are not a failure, morally or otherwise, for like constantly hurting and feeling like, oh, I didn't handle that as well as I could have because now they're just going to be addicted to video games or something. If someone is alive and they're not imposing a bunch of costs on other people and they have a fairly harmless addiction now, and it's certainly safer than their previous addictions to alcohol or substances or reckless gambling or reckless hedonistic sex or something, then you have done something very good, okay? You don't have to turn someone from like a decadent or self-injurious, self-destructive sinner into a saint within 24 hours or even 24 days or even 24 weeks. So show yourself some kindness and compassion as well. So yeah, these are just some tips I thought of in a few minutes. I'm not going to prattle on about how to do this because I just want to make a simple video now. And at some point I want to write letters to certain kinds of demographics of people who I think might be hurting a lot more than others. But I'm not an expert in this. I just think I had a certain number of successes under my belt due to some of the things I've mentioned, and also it's just, I don't know, you have this continuous inner orientation toward the inner lives of others, thinking about what's going on in their mind, what's going on in their heart, what does their stomach feel like, and so on. You just have this collection, this cluster of fixations when you talk to someone one-on-one, and if you constantly have that, even though it feels weighty, it'll help you be prepared to have like a spring-loaded impulse to save someone's life. So I'm not good at being happy. I'm actually just kind of like a ruminating, aloof, daydreaming sort of person. But I don't know, the set of fixations I organically fell into, starting in like my middle teenage years, made it so that I had some successes in getting people to really rescue themselves from a premature demise. So, yeah, I hope this wasn't too heavy. Once again, I'll say it again, I'm going to annoy you. I'm not a professional, but this is just stuff that worked for me. So, you never know what someone is going through, To invoke a quote that might be by, I don't know, Aristotle or Socrates or something, be kind, for everyone is fighting a hard battle. Okay. If some guy is struggling with watching adult media or something, then you've got to remind him, like, according to certain files or reports about them, our elites, supposed elites anyway, are rejoicing with much more grave and serious sins than just confining yourself to a private space and indulging in that kind of vice. So, go easy on yourself, brother. And, so yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Sorry if this was long-winded. I was just hanging out outside and losing my sense of subjectively felt time. Alright, thank you for watching and have a good day. And God bless you.